Hey, what's going on, everybody, and welcome back to my channel, Movie Files. Elliot back again with a brand new early TV review, and today we'll be discussing the first episode, the pilot episode of the new HBO crime drama by the name of Mare of Easttown, which I got the chance to check out early, and I'm so excited to let you all know what I thought about this pilot episode. Will I be back watching this every single week to cover it? Should you be excited for it? We're going to talk about it all in this spoiler-free review, but before we dive into it, make sure you're following me on all my other social media accounts, which you can find those links in the description below. If you're new to the channel, welcome to the community. Consider subscribing to the channel, and while you all are at it, make sure you hit the notification bell. That way you can get the alert from when I drop new reviews like this. It would mean a lot to me if you all can like and share this review. It helps out the channel a lot, but I also appreciate all the support. And in the comments below, let me know if the show was on your radar, if you were excited for the show, and of course, once you've seen this first episode, let's talk about it. Let me know your pros, your cons, your thoughts on the atmosphere, the tone, the characters. Will you be back watching this every single week? And more importantly, should I be back every single week covering this show with you all? Let me know in the comments. But for those that aren't too familiar with the show, who's behind it, who's writing it, who's directing it, who's starring in it, what is this first episode all about? Well, let me fill you all in. Episode 1 was titled Miss Lady Hawk Herself. After answering a phone call about a neighborhood prowler, Detective Mare shoulders her chief's directives to revive an unsolved missing persons case amid increased community pressure. Later, while her loved ones celebrate her ex-husband's Frank's engagement, Mare attends a celebration for her legendary high school basketball win and connects with Richard, a professor who's new in town. The show was created and written by Brad Elsby, and the director behind all of the episodes will be Greg Zobal. All right, so kicking this off with my positives. First and foremost, I want to go back to the writer and also the director of all of the episodes, starting off with Brad, who I'm familiar with his work. He has a very distinct tone. He dives into the drama. He dives into the nitty-gritty of these characters. All of the movies I've seen, he's not a director, but all of the stuff he writes, all of his sensibilities feel like there's always something in the undertone. There's always something going on with the character's mindset. I love the way he writes, whether it be stuff that he's worked with Out of the Furnace, Run All Night, American Woman, Our Friend, and just last year he worked with Ben Affleck with The Way Back. So he has a very distinct tone, and I really enjoyed the way he wrote his first episode, which gets me excited for the rest of the season. But also the director. There's so many things that get me excited about this show, but the director, Craig, who I'm very familiar with his work. Last year he directed The Hunt, which I enjoyed that film, but his work on television, he's directed two of my favorite episodes of one of my favorite shows of all time, and that's HBO's The Leftovers. He also has worked on Westworld. He's a great director, so I'm so excited to see him and Brad team up with this phenomenal cast. I mean, let me go over this cast right quick. You have Kate Winslet, you have Gene Smart, Evan Peters, Guy Pearce. The list goes on, and I'm a fan of all of these actors involved, and I can't wait to see what their characters are up to as the rest of the season kind of unfolds, but we get a lot of great stuff from these characters in this first episode. So great director, great writer, great talent in front and behind the camera. And oh yeah, it's on HBO, which if you all don't know, I love me some HBO, and I love me some HBO crime drama, whether it be last year's The Outsider, Perry Mason, we had The Undoing last fall. All the boxes check off for me. So let's get into this kind of overall thoughts without spoilers of this first episode. The thing that I thought was so incredibly done was the direction and the writing does such a great job of establishing the tone and establishing this grounded nature of these characters. It was so incredible to kind of be immersed into this small town where it just feels so lived in. You feel like the characters have been, through the ringer. They have these lines of dialogue where obviously they're just pages on the screen. This is the first time we're being interacted to these characters, but yet I feel like I know these characters. I feel like I can see the weight on the shoulders of Mare. I can see the relationship she has with her mom and the relationship that she has with her daughter, and the stuff that's going on at work, as well as the supporting cast. When she has a moment with her ex-teammates with the high school celebration, the basketball game, meeting Guy Pearce and having a little bit of his story. It just feels so real and raw, and it feels authentic, and it feels like, again, this world feels lived in. And by me saying it feels lived in, it looks beautiful, it's well shot, but it's very dark and grim and kind of bleak at times in regards to, we're in this small town. It just seems like it's cold and it's always raining there, but I just love the way that this first episode puts you in the mood of what these characters go in the day to day out, especially our main character played by Kate Winslet as Mare, who, let's kind of talk about her. She is the local town hero. This first episode is based on her being called Lady Hawk, which she has this kind of backstory where 25 years ago in high school, she hit a game-winning shot that led to her team winning the championship. So everyone knows her. We all know that, right? Especially if you grew up in a small town, the small town atmosphere where if something happens to a high school game or you did something heroic, then people always remember you by that one thing that you did. So she kind of has that going for her, but she's also a police officer, and she has the job duties of doing like your normal day-to-day robbery, break-ins to a car, but you get a sense that she used to be a detective involved in missing cases supports, and this is a situation going on very early in this episode where there's a little bit of tension in the town. There was a girl that went missing about a year ago when this particular episode takes place, and they haven't had any leads. They don't know what happened to this girl, and her body's just still out there. So there's a little bit of that, like you can understand a little bit of why Mare doesn't want to necessarily be a detective to figure out missing persons cases, and also you get a little bit of her story with her family. There's something going on with her son there that might involve why she's no longer working in that particular department. But I love how, again, it just sets the tone of the what she does in a day and what she does in a night. And again, when she's a police officer, she does her, there's a robbery going on in this house and dealing with the local peoples there and dealing with her chief, telling her she needs to open this case again. She needs to help this woman that's lost her daughter. But there's a little bit of resistance from Mare. She doesn't want to dive back into that case. And obviously we'll find out why in the weeks ahead. But then turn it on her home life. When she's no longer a police officer, she goes to sleep at night. She's involved around her family. That's where the meatiness and the kind of interesting nature of the show, as well as this mystery that we'll talk about a little bit later, but it's the characters. You want to learn about the characters. You want to see what wakes them up at night, what keeps them wanting to make sure that there's no criminals on the street. And you get that with this first episode. We meet Mare's mom, played by Jean Smart. We meet her daughter, which is played by Ann Gary Rice. We meet her grandson, and we also meet her ex-husband, who I always refer to him as Roy in The Office. But we meet all of her kind of family dynamic and get a sense of, again, it feels like they feel like a real family. They feel like a family that's been through the ringer, that knows what buttons to push and all the different things that we go through. So we see both sides of our main character, which I love that. And all the supporting characters just fit like a perfect needle in regards to just fitting in so well with the tone and atmosphere that was created within this first episode. Again, kind of the main stories that we get within this episode, besides seeing Mare's day-to-day life and her home life, there's also a prowler in this town. Again, there was a missing persons that has been open. This case has been open for over a year. They have no leads. They don't know what happened to this young girl. And the very first kind of call that Mare gets in the very beginning of this episode, or close to the beginning of this episode, is that someone's calling because they see this prowler looking outside their window, which leads us into Casey Spann's character, Erin, who is a young girl who's about, I'll say 18, 19. She has a 1-year-old, and she's having this kind of subplot of seeing her life. She has a terrible, father for her child. She has a dad that seems to be abusive, and you just really care for Casey. I love that they casted her because I think she's so great as an actress, a very young up-and-coming actress, whether it be seeing her in Bad Times at the El Royale, seeing her in something like Devs last year. I think she's a phenomenal actress. And seeing her struggle, seeing what she goes through in this episode with her family, with her, her newborn child, her 1-year-old child, and seeing the people of town picking on her and the stuff that she goes through in this episode really opens up the door for some interesting stuff. But you get that character, you meet the teenagers in the town. Again, I just felt like I was a part of this world. It felt lived in, and I love that aspect of the story as things just kind of wrap up, because I don't want to dive into the spoilers. But as we have Mare, who's actually celebrating this kind of reunion of sorts of this 25-year anniversary of her hitting this big shot, This is the same night that her ex-husband is celebrating his anniversary to being newly engaged. And oh yeah, Mare lives behind her husband. So it's a very close, tight-knit group. But in the same night she's doing that, she's celebrating this basketball celebration. You know, one of the mothers are kind of upset with her because one of the mothers is the mother of the girl that went missing a year ago. So there's some tension there. But also she meets Guy Pearce's character, who's Richard, who's new in the town. He's coming from Syracuse. And Guy Pearce is like, he fits perfectly within his world because there's a little bit of mystery. What's going on with Guy Pearce? He's coming from Syracuse. He's a professor. He's writing a book, but I don't know. It's a coincidence that there's some things going on in town when this new guy's in town. But they have a moment that she is introduced to Richard, and I'm gonna keep my eye on Guy Pearce because I love him as an actor. He can play a great guy, someone you can trust, but he also has a little bit of that villainous side. We see him play some villains in his past resume. So getting all that, getting her family, getting her day-to-day life, and then there's the mystery of who is this prowler, what happened to this girl, and I'll just say by the end of this episode, it hooked me. It hooked me by the way that it ended things off with a particular character and a particular new case that may be open in this town. So I really enjoyed this first episode. Again, it establishes the world. I felt like I knew these characters. I can't wait to learn more about them. We learn about this particular aspect of Mare's life and her son, as well as, this relationship that she has with her ex-husband, this new relationship that she's developing with Richard, and everything in between. This is a really interesting show. And I said up top, will I be back watching this every single week? Yes, because it's right up my alley, but I really enjoyed this first episode. So with that being said, expect reviews every single Sunday for Mare of Easttown because I am in love with this show so far, and I can't wait to see what the show has up its sleeve. So again, no spoilers. I really enjoyed this first episode, but I want to know what you all thought of it, your pros, your cons. If you want to throw your theories in the hat, like I mentioned with Guy Pearce, I think a lot of you all are maybe on the same page with me once you've seen this episode, but of course, it's not going to be that easy, right? But let's talk about it all in the comments. And again, I'll be back every single Sunday talking about the latest episode. And in the further reviews will be more spoiler discussions, more deeper dives into the characters, thoughts, and theories, and all that fun stuff. So we'll dive deeper next week with episode 2. But again, let me know what you all thought of this pilot episode, your pros, your cons. Make sure to like the video, share the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Hit the notification bell. That way you can get the alert when I drop new reviews every single day almost, because we talk about a lot of stuff on this channel. Hope you all enjoyed this review. Hope you're staying safe. We'll see you in the next video.